Okay, Shalom Akim, Kahalayim La, Yahaba Hashem, Yahushua Hashem Kudash, and double honors to the greatest and apostles. Thadi Yahushua for the strength to make this video, and Yaratazah that you're built up and you're also encouraged from this video as well. And when we say Kal Halalim La, in the introduction, we're saying all praises to in the ancient Hebrew. Kal means all, Halalim means praises, and when we say La, that means two, so all praises to Yahweh Bahashem Yahushua. Yahweh is the name of the Most High, which means He is. Of course, it could also mean He exists or He is to be. But ultimately it means He is. As in, He's always existed. So that's what it means when we say Yahweh. His name means He is, He exists, or He is to be. So when we say Bahashem, we're saying in the name. Ba means in, Ha means the, Shah means name, and that means Yahweh in the name of Yahushua. Yahushua. Meaning He delivers. So when we say Yahweh Bahashem Yahushua, it's through Yahushua, that's how we get to Yahweh. And when we say Bahashem Racha Kodash, we're saying in the name, Spirit Holy. Racha means Spirit, Kodash means Holy. So through the Holy Spirit, that's how we then connect. That's how we then connect to Yahushua, as we pray, and of course as we fast as well, in order to connect to Yahweh Bahashem Yahushua. We connect to Yahushua, and obviously Yahushua being our mediator, that's how we then connect to Yahweh, because on behalf of Yahushua, or through Yahushua, that's how He intervenes for us. But anyways, that's just a brief introduction here and there. You'll hear me say that for any new brothers that come by, or any new sisters, if it be so. But as I named the video, because really the inspiration of the video was that was the name, the day we stopped saying yes. The reason why I named it that is because it was a title, man. As soon as Captain said it, the last cap, this is a title right there. I think we were even talking about just Jake being subservient, under Esau. The way you just gotta say yes, boss, to your employer, at work, or even for young ones like myself, in school, you just gotta accept certain things that happen there, with your teachers and whatnot. Point is just a subservience or servitude to Esau, Edom. Always saying yes, essentially going back to that yes master and the slavery mindset. So the day we stop saying yes is really connoting. It's really connoting the day that Yahushua arrives, and of course from then on, that's when Israel is going to be in their power. Starting off with the elect, because right now we're in the lowly state. But then again, them curses are being flipped over right now. So really, the Most High has still shown mercy upon us in this day and age. The fact that we're able to, of course, for now, we call it a little bit of freedom, I'll say. To just walk about. You can go to the library. You're allowed to read. You're allowed to read the scriptures as well. So consider it mercy, because back in them days, slavery, you can't. Reading was banned, man. You couldn't read. That's the thing. So, of course, Jake had it hard, man. But anyways, consider this time being a mercy. But the point is, despite that, there's still certain restrictions that we have. We still got to go to Esau, Edom to get a loan. If let's say for Israel wanted to start a business, that's one thing. Or even just to go to Esau, Edom to just withdraw the normal cash that you have, man. Because really, the banks that are storing your cash right now, they leverage that. They go and use a big portion of that for investments. And then the rest of the money, they just leave a small portion in the actual bank, man. So that's why when bailouts happen, or I should say bank failures happen, when everyone just comes all of a sudden like a flood, to try and withdraw their money, they can't get all the money in the bank because they don't have it in the bank. They don't have it in the bank at all. That's why trying to rob the bank ain't really ideal. I mean, to be fair, not that I'm trying to push it, but to be fair, obviously I'm talking on movies here, really. With all these bank heists that happen, realistically, they don't even have much money in there, man. But obviously for those, I'm going on a tangent here. But the point is that bank failures, people go in, everyone can't just withdraw all the money that they have. They even restrict how much you can withdraw as well. I remember mentioning this before, like a few years back, you could, I don't know if it's about transfers. Actually, yeah, cash withdrawal. You could set a cash withdrawal limit. Certain banks may still have it, but certain banks have now, lowered the limit. It used to be 500. I believe it's probably even more if you backdate it like 10 years back. But right now, it's more limited, man. It's more limited. It's like £300 over here in the UK for certain banks. But it depends on what bank that you deal with, man, in terms of what, the freedom that you got. But the point is, the bottom line is that we're still under Esau Edom, man. We have restrictions. We don't have that total freedom from Yahweh Shem Yahushai. So we still under the curses to a certain degree. That's what I'm trying to say. We've had mercy from Yahweh Shem Yahushai. You got to include that balance, but we got to remember that we're still under the oppressor, because he's the one who's in rule of majority of the fundamental systems. The energy grid, electrical grid, your water supply. You're not even able to own your own land, man. So there's a lot of restrictions. We Israelites right now, you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native American Indians, don't have your own land. So this is just me applying the curses. Obviously, I'll just read like one, because there's one particular one that I want to bring out, in Deuteronomy 28. But the curses of which I mentioned there, Israel is still going through it, to a certain degree. Now, of course, again, as I said, we still receive mercy. Hence why we have to be grateful to Yahweh Shem Yahushai for our ability, such as the mercy that is had upon us to have the freedom to read, man. Because, back in the day, it was actually banned for Jake to read the Bible, man. And also other things as well, to limit who had access to the scriptures, man. Which really, access is one thing to read, but having the understanding is also another layer to also get as well, which you need Harachah Kodash for. Anyways, let me get this precept, Deuteronomy 28 and verse 43 specifically. Which really from verse 15 to about verse 64. Those are the curses of which the Most High put upon Israel, man. Notice how the curses are way more than the blessings. So that means disobedience is one tough thing that we ought not to go through, which means we really shouldn't be disobedient to Yahweh Shem Yahushai. But because of that, we had to go through this learning process, go through the curses, and suffer what we had to go through. I'm talking about not just the transatlantic slave trade. Obviously, you got the Latin tribes as well. When the Europeans, the Spaniards, the Portuguese came over there, the British as well as the Native American Indians. When the British also came over, Yara Tazam will do another video on the Native American history. But yeah, all of that is all part of the curses, man. This also summarizes that too. Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 43. The stranger that is within thee shall get up above thee very high, and thou shalt come down very, very low. Verse 44, he shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him. He shall be the head, and thou shalt be the tail. So, of course, those are two major curses, man. An example, as I just mentioned, transatlantic slave trades, Native American Indians with their settlements. When the British and the Spanish came over as well to take over the North American Indians, aka Native American Indians, and of course by the Israelite tribes, is Gad and Reuben. Reuben can be likened as the Seminole Indians, which are simply Native American Indians, but like a sub-tribe within the Native American Indians. So Seminole Indians is just a more refined Native American Indian tribe within that. But yeah, Gad and Reuben, man. Native American Indians, Gad. Seminole Indians, Reuben. So they, as well as the so-called Negroes as well, when transferred from the west coast of Africa, to then go to America as well. The point is, Nigeria, Ghana, that type of area, on the west, the countries there. The point being is, it says this in Deuteronomy 28 and 43, the stranger that is within thee shall get up above thee high. So the Edomites, of which are, amongst us, they'll be the ones of whom will be in higher positions, so also higher positions of power to rule over us. So that's what that means. And also that goes back to the captivity too. They will be over us. And it says, and thou shalt come down very low. So yeah, in terms of authority, Jake gonna be very low, man. Jake gonna be very low. Even though, as I keep mentioning, because it's a balancer, Most has had mercy where, Jake can have high level professions, man. In the medical industry, in the law industry, in the engineering industry, the Most High still had mercy where Jake can climb up the ladder a little bit. Of course, if you go too high, they then cause you to lose your own integrity. For example, in the music industry, you go too high, they're gonna say that you need to sell your own soul, man, quite literally, man. And then you're gonna have to start getting into this left-hand witchcraft. So obviously those things come at a cost when you go too high in the world. So, that's the point. That proves the curses as well, man. So yeah, it says he shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him. He shall be the head, and thou shalt be the tail. So of course, you go to the enemy for the want of all things. That's in the scriptures as well. Where again, simple things, just like even just accessing your money. You gotta trust the Edomite banking system, man. You can't just have your own riches like farmland. Even in the UK, that in itself it's hard to own farmland, man. That's made for the royals, for the higher ups, I could say. So it says, he shall lend to thee, and thou shalt not lend to him. He shall be the head, and thou shalt be the tail. So really, I said in the beginning, that goes into that subservience, the servitude of which the Most High has put Jacob under Esau, Edom. Now, of course, these curses, as I said, is being flipped over because we know as Yahushua comes closer, the prophecy of Esau, Edom's downfall, which is a prophecy of Babylon's fall, would then be executed. Like when I say executed, it means it will be done. Therefore, like such as the Jeremiah 51, verse 25, Babylon, aka America, being a burnt mountain. Amos 1 and verse 11. And Esau, Edom, being a desolation. In fact, let me get Amos 1 and 11 specifically, because that one it's a little bit hard to recall about. I know it's talking about Esau, Edom being destroyed because of his hate towards Jacob. So this is Amos chapter 1 and verse 11. It says, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, for 3 transgressions of Edom, and for 4, I will not turn away the punishment thereof, because he did pursue his brother with a sword, and did cast off all pity and his anger and tear perpetually, and kept his wrath forever. But I will send a fire upon Teman, which is reference to the Edomites, is one of the tribes of the Edomites, which shall devour the palaces of Bozrah, one of the major cities of the Edomites as well. So the point is, Esau, Edom's punishment will not be slack. The Most High is going to punish Esau, Edom, and that's when we're going to get our time for authority. That's when Israel is going to be in authority, man. Which really begins with when Yahushua arrives. That's when everything's going to be completely flipped over. Right now, you got Esau on top, you got Israel on the bottom, but then slowly rotating. Yahushua giving mercy. And when Yahushua arrives, it's just going to go like this, where Israel's on top and then Esau, Edom's on the bottom. So yeah, that's Deuteronomy 28 and verse. Well, that was Amos 1 and 11 on Esau, Edom. And I went from Deuteronomy 28 to Amos 1 and 11. So we get another precept as well, because the lowly position that we have is temporary, man. The fact that we have to work for Esau, Edom, have to flip and rely on his darn erroneous system. But nevertheless of that, it's only temporary. So let's get Lamentations. That's part of the faith, man. The fact that he's gonna fall and he's not gonna be in rulership forever, that's part of our faith. That's the hope that keeps our sanity as well, man. Because Jacob the world, they think that, so that's gonna be it. There's gonna be equals now after all the atrocities of Esau, Edom. Imagine getting taught that, man. And then, in school, because of the fact that as a child, young, I'm talking about like years ago, like primary school, secondary school, when they taught you history class of what was done to Native American Indians, as well as they do their little session with Black History Month, Black History Month, if we're not black, by the way, there's different shades of brown. So even in that session of Black History Month as well, they just tell you about you know, how the slave trade went, you know, when certain sugar trades as well. I think the land of Benjamin. I gotta do more research on that. Yaratazar, one day I'm gonna do a lesson on Benjamin as well, the West Indies lands. But yeah, first of all, I'm focused on Native American Indians and the Latinos for now, so I can get through that. But the point being is, Black History Month, they don't show you all of that, the transatlantic slave trade. It's like, you think to yourself, damn, this is all that was done. But right now you're in a society where it's like, you're kind of chilling. That's if that was when you were in ignorance of the truth, man. Where it's like, okay, I mean, at least you're able to get a job, you're able to go to school and whatnot, you're able to go and eat. But then sometimes the Most High will also send you certain Edomite folk, of which will have a hatred towards you, as a reminder that, yeah, man, this ain't it. This is not it. But that was before the truth. But then when you enter the truth, you don't understand, okay, so this is why, certain scenarios the Most High just threw at you to remind you that, yeah, that's your enemy right there, man. That's your enemy right there. So really, all in all, Israel needs to be awakened to this truth. And the only way for that is for the 2/3 to be reborn in the kingdom of Yahushua in righteousness, man. So that they wouldn't have to, they'll be in the understanding of Yahweh Shem Yashah of these scriptures. And of course, right now, they're in a very delusional state. They're in a very delusional state, man. So yeah, Lamentations chapter 2. Hold on. So yeah, Lamentations 2 and verse 15. It says it, all that pass by clap their hands. Hold on, let me see something. Just reading the previous verse. Anyways, verse 15 is a key part. So Lamentations 2 and 15. All that pass by clap their hands at thee, in a mocking way, in a mocking sense. They clap their hands. They hiss and wag their head at the daughter of Jerusalem, saying, is this the city that men call the perfection of beauty, the joy of the whole earth? It's because Israel is supposed to be the perfection of beauty, man. The standard of which all other nations ought to be following. But now we've fallen from our former glory, which then again we were still in imperfection, because we were not in the new bodies back then, man. Hence why we need to make sin offerings, like even in just Leviticus 1, they were mentioning of burnt sacrifices, man. The cattle, of the herd, of the flock, of the fowl, which are just livestock animals, and the fowls, of course, young pigeons and the turtle doves. These burnt sacrifices, when you kill the animal, a certain way, pouring the blood around the altar, all of this was to be an atonement for sins, man. An atonement, for sins. I think it goes back to the root word of what root word is it? Not for sure. It's kafar. Kafar. It's pronounced as kafar, but it's spelled as kapar. That's why you get the name Yom Kippur, for these Amalekites over there. But it's it's pronounced as kafar if you go to the root word in Leviticus 1 and verse 4, where the guy puts their hands on the burnt offering on the animal before they kill it, and then that's for the atonement. Which kafar goes back to it means really to make a reconciliation, to cover, to purge, man. To placate, to disannul, which means to counsel, to make amends to, to expiate. Man, that's the point, man. We're not going to need any of those things for our sin offerings, because in the kingdom of Yahushua we won't be sinning. But Israel right now is in a state of sin. They're in a state of iniquity right now. In ignorance, they're in a state of iniquity because they sin without even realizing. Eating pork, that's a major one right there. And not just that too, just certain things that are done that they may see as nothing, like celebrating Christmas and some other things as well. All of this is really just grievance against Yahweh Shem Yashah, and it's not as if you can make a sacrifice right now, or else, you're gonna be arrested. So it's not the situation, it's not expedient for the sacrifices in today's day and age. Hence why we need the mercy of Yahweh Hashem Yahushua. Hence why we need Yahushua. So Lamentations 2 and 15, all that pass by thee, all that pass by clap their hands at thee, they hiss and wag their head at the daughter of Jerusalem, saying, is this the beauty that men call the perfection of beauty? Hold on. Is this the city, Slock? Is this the city that men call the perfection of beauty, the joy of the whole earth? You see? It says, all thine enemies have opened their mouth against thee. They hiss and gnash the teeth. They say, we have swallowed her up. Certainly this is the day that we looked for. We have seen it. So yeah, they're all against Israel, man. They're all against Israel. The heathens, most specifically, Edomites, are against Israelites. Alright, so that's Lamentation 2 and 15. Let me check another verse here. Or another chapter. Hold on. Okay. Alright, hold on. Guys, bear with me. Alright, just a precept to support that. Because it says that the perfection of beauty, the joy of the whole earth. That's what it's supposed to be. So this is Psalms 48. And starting from verse 1. Great is the Lord Yahweh and greatly to be praised in the city of our power. That's Jerusalem, where the Israelites reside. In the mountains of his holiness, man. It says, beautiful for situation, the joy of the whole earth is Mount Zion in the sides of the north, the city of the great king. So of course that's proof right there. That's another precept to support Lamentations 2 and 15 about Israel being the beauties of the earth, man. It says the perfection of beauty, rather, the joy of the earth. So that's Psalms 48 and verse 2, being the key part to support that. So now let's get back to Lamentations. Lamentations 4 and verse 1 to 2. It says, how is the gold become dim? How is the most fine gold changed? The stones of the sanctuary are poured out in the top of every street. The precious sons of Zion, comparable to fine gold, how are they esteemed as earthen pitchers, the work of the hands of the potter? So it's like, the fine gold, which is what Israelites are, how they just, just on the streets, just dumped, feeling worthless or being perceived as worthless. In this day and age, and that's how it is, because the Most High set it up where our enemies will be above us, as I read in Deuteronomy 48 and verse 43 to 44. So of course that's just the state that Jacob is in right now. Now let me get this precept here, and then I'm gonna get to the next part, because these are just precepts to then portray or to support the point on Israel being lowly right now. Lowly, lowly. In a low state of mind, in a low state of spirit, and lowly in the physical vessel as well, man. Now, of course, there are exceptions out there. As I mentioned, the Jakes who do quite well, in the world, in terms of engineering, the law, what other industries are there? But yeah, whatever industry that Jake is in, there's certain exceptions that do quite well, man. Some of them go quite far, where they start to sell out. While other ones are like the middle class, they're doing quite well as well for themselves. But anyways, that's through the mercy of Yahweh Shimon Shah. But in a general sense, we're still lowly because of the fact that we're under our enemy Esau, Edom. Alright, I said I was going to get a precept, wasn't I? Okay, let's get Isaiah. This is Isaiah 42 and verse 22. But this is a people robbed and spoiled. They are all of them snared in holes, and they are hid in prison houses. They are for a prey, and none delivereth. And literally, Jake is packed in the prison houses, man. Quite literally. So, not the spiritual prison houses, as in being unaware of this truth, but also physically in prison houses as well, man. They're snared in holes, as it said, they're trapped in holes, metaphorically speaking. They're robbed and spoiled, man. Remember, how's the fine gold esteemed as earthen pictures, man, roughly phrasing Lamentations 4 verse 1 to 2. So how's the gold, been seen as worthless now? That's what it means. So it says, let me continue on. And they are hid in prison houses, they are for a prey, and none delivereth, for a spoil, and none saith restore. Verse 23, Isaiah 42 and 23, for among you will I give to this, who among you will I give ear to this? Who will hearken? Who will hearken and hear for this, for the time to come? Who gave Jacob for a spoil, and Israel to the robbers? Did not the Lord Yahweh, he against whom we have sinned? For they would not walk in his ways, neither were they obedient unto his law. So of course, that explains why Israel is in this low level point, man. The reason why they keep saying yes, which goes back to the yes master. And it's not as if Jake has a point anyways, because the Most High put the curses upon us where we have to go to East or Edom in order to get certain resources, man. So we just pray for mercy and pray for wisdom as we navigate, in this life, man. Until Yahushua comes, which is very, very soon, man. And you know how it's very, very soon? Because all you gotta do is look at the signs, majorly being Matthew 24, mention about the rumors of wars, the famines to come as well. Certain things that are happening right now today will have a ripple effect on what will happen in the future, man. It could be in a few months' time or even maybe a year's time, if it be so. Because of course, first of all, we've got to watch out for that implant. Yahweh tells us the major prophecy in Revelation 13, to look out for prior to Yahushua coming back, man. But all of these are signs that Yahushua is very close, man. He's very close. So you have to maintain strength, pray to Yahweh Hashem Yahushua to enthrall you with Harakah Kodash, the strength of the Spirit, Harakah Kodash, with the Holy Spirit in these times, man, to persevere and to endure to the end as well. Alright, so verse 44, Isaiah 42 and 25, therefore he hath poured upon him the fury of his anger and the strength of battle, and it hath set him on fire round about, yet he knew not, and it burned him, and yet he laid it not to heart, man. So really the point is, Israel provoked Yahweh to anger, and he's punished us, man. That's the point. That's just a simple point to understand there from Isaiah 42 verse 22 to 25, man. So of course he's the one who put us in that position. Now when Yahweh Shai comes back, as we're gonna read right here, Revelation 1 and 7. And all those chariots come back, man. That's when it's truly gonna be end game. It was like in Marvel, where you had what's it called? The first one was Infinity War, and then the other one's called the Endgame, Avengers Endgame. Yeah, that Endgame was when Thanos came, man, and there was a great war. And you can see that as a reflection of when Yahushua comes. Really, just a minuscule representation of when Yahushua arrives, man. Where there's going to be that great war, and Joel chapter 3 also mentions it as well, man. So it's going to be a lot. So Revelation 1 and 7, behold, he cometh with clouds, and everyone shall see him, and they also which pierced him, and all the kindreds of the earth shall wail because of him, even so, amen. So that he, where it says, behold, he cometh with clouds, that's talking about Yahushua coming in the clouds. And when I say clouds, that clouds is a metaphorical word for the chariots. And when we say chariots, that's talking about the so-called UFOs of the world, man. Unidentified flying objects, or UAPs, which is a more so modern term. Unidentified anomalous phenomenon. Go on. So those are the two ways to call the chariots, man. UAPs, UFOs. Which really, they are IFOs for us, because we see them more often. Also, we resonate. We understand that the angels are there to do the will of Yahweh, and of course they're also there for encouragement for brothers as well to keep going too. So it says, behold, he come, because remember, and also not just that, but for the protection of Akim too, where it says in Psalms 34 and verse 7, the angels of the Lord encampeth around them that fear him. So of course that's what they're there for too. So yeah, the point is Yahushua is going to come back with a whole heap of chariots, as well as a big fathership that's going to come in, and then that's they're gonna collect the elect into that fathership, man. And it's gonna be quite a time, man. It's crowning ceremony to also look forward for, and that's why we say Yaharatazar, that we are these men that will make it into those chariots, man, that we endure to the end, Yaharatazar. So Revelation 1 and verse 7, behold, he cometh with clouds, and everyone shall see him. See, that's why I was talking about. There's gonna be a big fathership, man. People gonna know, like, yeah, this is an outworldly being that's arrived. All the movies that they've watched of alien movies, of aliens coming back, which alien just means stranger, by the way. If you go to the etymology dictionary or etymology online website, it just means stranger. So yeah, an alien, coming from outer space, they'll say, from another dimension. And all the movies that go into it as well, they're gonna know that this is the real deal when the Yahushua comes back, man. The real deal. And obviously to Esau, Edom, he would be a stranger. But reading the spirit, he ain't a stranger. Because remember, it also says here, and they also which pierced him, they're going to see Yahushua as well. So in the spirit, Yahushua knows who they are. He knows who they are. So they're all going to see him, man. And they're going to get punished, each and every one of those Edomites and heathens in our kingdom, man. In Yahushua's kingdom. Which Yahushua's kingdom is also known as the kingdom of Israel as well. Yahushua is simply the ruler of the kingdom of Israel. That's why we also call it Yahushua's kingdom. Alright, so that was Revelation 1 and 7. Because now I'm talking about the day we actually stop saying yes. The day we stop saying yes. Which means the day we stop serving and being in that subordinate mindset when it comes to our servitude to Esau, Edom. Which we can remove that mindset right now. As we have removed that mindset because of this truth, the wisdom that we gain from it. But in terms of Israel as a whole, that's going to be when the 2/3 are going to be reborn through the loins of the elect, man. And of course that nexus point, if you will be when Yahushua arrives, man. That's the ultimate change, so it's going to be powerful. Alright, let's see. Hold on, I just read Revelation 1 and 7. Alright, let's get another one. Revelation 1 and 7. Actually, there's another one in Revelation. Hold on. Along with the Yahushua coming back, this is going to be another indicator that we're in that time of the day we stop saying yes, man. It will be that day, that period of time. So Revelation 13 and verse, hold on, let's see. It's Revelation 13. So this is Revelation 13 and 10. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here is the patience and the faith of the saints. So the point is, all that Esau's Edom has been doing to us, covertly and overtly, because the slavery, that was more overt, which means openly. But right now is a more so psychological battle, which is covertly. And his own kind is really friendly fire anyways, because I'm talking about microplastics here. The certain foods that you use. Even flipping ice cubes, man. You put them in a Dawn silicone container. And you put the Dawn ice cube in water or in like some juice that you may be drinking. Some orange juice, apple juice, whatever. And you start to see floating substances, man. It's like, what in the world is going on here? So all of those you can liken as onto microplastics. Not to because it isn't the texture of ice, man. It's the flipping plastic sticking to the ice. So even just minor ways like that. The juice as well. When I say juice, I'm talking about the one that goes in the arm. During 2021, 2022, 2023. So that's also another way. The trails of the heavens. Imagine you gotta use all these cold words, man. But yeah, I'm gonna just say it. Chemtrails, the chemical trails, in the heavens when they spray it. The difference between a contrail and a chemtrail. The chemtrail, when it's sprayed by the airplane, by the airplane when it's moving high up in the sky, it leaves a very long line. It doesn't dissipate. It dissipates slowly. But the contrails, you see the lines, but it's very short and it dissipates quickly. It dissipates meaning scatter quickly. You won't see the effect of the line. But chemtrails, you see a long line, in the skies, man. So that's how you know the difference. And all of that is just chemicals sprayed in the skies, and then give it some hours, then it's gonna fall to the ground, man. And that affects the soul as well. So all of this is how Esau Edom covertly affects Israelites as well, man. And obviously, as I said, his own kind is also friendly fire as well. He don't care. The higher ups of Esau Edom don't really care about the lower level Edomites. So yeah, again, the point is, despite them doing all of this, we're gonna get our lick back as well. We're gonna get our chance to really punish Esau Edom, which will all be through the power of Yahweh Yahushua. Revelation 13:10 again. He that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. He that killeth with the sword must be killed with the sword. Here is the patience and the faith of the saints. Simple as that, man. Simple as that. Let's get another one as well. In fact, I'm gonna let that one be the last precept. Let me get another one. So Isaiah 33 and verse 18. Thine heart shall meditate terror. Where is the scribe? Where is the receiver? And where is he that counted the towers? The point is, our heart represents the mind, and what it means to meditate, it means to think. It's another word to think. So we're going to think about terror, man. And by thinking about terror, that links to Revelation 13:10, where he that leadeth into captivity shall go into captivity. So all the pain that was inflicted on us, we're going to give them a double portion, of course, lawfully through the power of Yahweh Shem Yahushua. And we're going to know what to do because we'll be in perfect bodies. The Most High will put certain thoughts within us that are right to do, to inflict that pain on Esau Edom. So yeah, that was Isaiah 33 and verse 18, man. Thine heart shall meditate terror. And of course, Yahushua is going to be the one who's going to be pushing that vibration as well, man. All brothers are going to be in that vibration, in the spirit. Because this is what Yahushua is going to do. Let me read it to you. So Luke chapter 19 and verse 27. Luke 19 and 27. But those mine enemies which would not that I should reign over them, because when Yahushua comes back, obviously America's going to be burnt, but when the elect then descend as Jerusalem, as it says in Revelation 21, Yahushua, there's going to still be other Israelites around the world where the bombs haven't affected, man. The nuclear missiles haven't affected, which the nuclear missiles are predominantly for America anyways. America's going to be obliterated, that's the point. But then the Israelites scattered around that are still alive, then we're going to go to them. And we're going to do Joshua 24 and I think verse 10, where it says, choose ye this day who you will serve, roughly paraphrasing. It reminds me of the Viltrumite, man. That show, Invincible. But it says, but those my enemies which would not that I should reign over them, bring hither and slay them before me. So point is, if you ain't going to obey Yahushua, we're going to have to kill you. And then, as blatant as that sounds, Yaratazar, of course, as you say, that we're in the heavens, Yaratazar, that will make it. We're going to go around, and anyone who ain't going to serve Yahushua, Yahweh Shem Yahushua, we're going to slay him, send him back to the spirit realm, and then they're going to have to be reborn again. So that's the point. It says, reign over them, bring hither and slay them before me. That's plain and simple, man. Plain and simple. Alright, so that was Luke 19 and 27. But yeah, that's really the point, Akim. You know, the day we say yes is the day Yahushua arrives, and the day we're in our new bodies. You know, 1 Corinthians 15, about verse 52 onwards. You know, we're going to be in those new bodies. In Psalms 82 and verse 6, ye are gods, you know, but ye shall die as men because of the fact that we're in this vessel. But ye are gods because of the fact that we will be powers in that time, combined with those new bodies to actually officially perfect that God level power, man. The bodies, the mind, the spirit, man, it's all going to be God level. So that's the point right there, man. That's the point right there. So the day we say yes is when Yahushua arrives and we turn into gods, physically speaking. Because obviously it starts in the mind of the spirit first, prior to it being fulfilled in the body. So yeah, Shalom, Kal Halalim Na, Yahweh Bashim Yahushua Bashim Chakudash. And once more, double honors to the great Emerson Apostles. Thadiyah, share for the strength in us to make this video, and Yaratazar, that this helps to exhort you, to encourage you, man. That we only got a short amount of time left, man. We've got to keep that hope, keep that faith going, increase faith, pray to Yahweh Hashem Yahushua, and Yaratazar before you know it. You know, we'll be in those chariots, man. Yaratazar. And of course, heathens are going to be our servants very soon. So yeah, Shalom, Yahweh Hashem Yahushua, Barakatah.